I'm going to be telling you guys about the history and a positive impact that microscopes have had on our daily lives. First, I'm going to go back to the very beginning in the late 1500s, specifically 1590, where two scientists, Hans and Zacharias Janssen, created their first version of the microscope. It was a small metal tube that had a thick lens. They were not happy with the final result, so they did not publish this version. A couple years later, Antonie van Leeuwenhoek and Robert Hooke created their version, which added to the Janssen's version of the microscope. To the right is a picture of some of their drawings that were redrawn so it's easier to see. And they added many different components such as a light source, a stage, different levels of objective lenses, and they did publish this version for the public to see. There are also many different kinds of microscopes in the modern day. First is a compound microscope. This is the most popularly used, and it has a camera and can see many different levels of fine magnification. Next is a stereo microscope, also known as a dissecting microscope. This microscope is used to see 3D objects such as this flower. The stage is closer to the table or wherever you have it, so it's easier to hold the object. Now we have a dental microscope. This microscope is very important because it is used to see dental fluids and other instruments when doing dental procedures and oral surgeries. And lastly is the eye canal microscope. This microscope is also very important because it is used for retinal and cataract surgeries and can be used for eye screenings. This one was very surprising for me because when I go to the eye doctor, for example, I never thought of this as a microscope. So now I have a different view when I go there, and it was very interesting to me. Did I miss one? Okay. Now we're going to go back to the back where the Janssens and Leeuwenhoek and Hooke were placed, and we're going to talk about Arthur Hill Hassel. He wrote the first book of this topic, The Microscopic Anatomy of the Human Body, No. 6. It was published in 1852. He also had many students which he taught his learnings to, and he used precise microscope images of water samples from the London suburbs. On the left side is a sample of sewer water. You can see that it is very dirty and would not be safe for the public to drink. The microscope is very helpful because now we can use safe water and not get sick. There are also many uses for microscopes. First is medical education and research. Microscopes can be used for neuroscience and observing brain tissues, and also can be used for animal and human body surgeries. Next, it can be used for surgical procedures on animals and people, and you can see deeper and more specific images which can help create better conclusions. Next is medical diagnostics, and you can find many different diseases such as blood diseases, and on the right is a picture of the coronavirus under the microscope, which recently helped scientists to cure many different people around the world. And lastly, pharmaceutical discoveries. Microscopes have created a reliability and quality check on many different discoveries and can help keep the public safe. Now we're going to go back to the 1830s where cell research commenced. Two German scientists, Theodor Schwann and Matthias Schleiden, discovered the word cells. When he looked at different pieces of cork under the microscope, he saw different sections which he described to look like rooms, later named cells. They also described that cells are the basic blocks of life. And here's a picture of some different kinds of cells that they discovered, which are some of the drawings that they made. And the last scientist we're going to talk about is Rudolf Virchow. He, in my opinion, is one of the most influential scientists of them all. He influenced the 1800s science and taught his many students and investigated body tissues. He also found discoveries of different body tissue samples by taking thin slices of the human body tissue and looking for stains or imperfections. On the right is an image of some work that he made. That's a sample of some of his body tissues, and you can see that there's different lines and different stains in there, which could help diagnose different diseases. One of my biggest questions about this project was about the different age expectancies and life expectancies, and so I made a chart of all the different years since the microscope discoveries. So first you can see that in the late 1500s to 1600s, it has dropped down very rapidly, and then it slowly rises up to the 1800s. What also surprised me was that it dropped back down in the 1900s. Think about it. What do you guys think happened? I think it was because of different risings of diseases and possibly different wars. But overall, you can see that the average life expectancies have risen, which is very great. I had 2 interviews in my project. First is Dr. Matthew Martz, who is my uncle. He is the director of data science. I asked him many questions in my emails, and first of all, I asked him how he thinks that microscopes have improved our knowledge. First, he described that it improved drug research and overall has greatly improved our knowledge. I also asked him if he uses and how he uses microscopes in his daily research. He says that in different reasons he uses them for different patients because everybody reacts differently to different medicines and different diagnostics and many different things. And on the right you can see some pictures that he has of different cells and some cool things under the microscope that he took. So you can take a look at that, and then there's also some more on this side. My next interviewee was Mary Lou Martz, who is a retired registered nurse who is also my grandma. And I asked her some similar questions on how she thinks that microscopes have impacted our lives, which she says before microscopes they use different techniques such as bloodletting, which could cause many different bacteria and viruses additionally to what they were trying to find out about a person, which was not a great idea because it created more problems. And you can use microscopes to safely detect diseases and more bacteria, such as gutworms. So here's a picture of gutworms under the microscope. And I also asked her if she thought the average life expectancies have changed and how. And she says that in her years of nursing school from 1972 to 1975, there's been a great increase in the life expectancies. She also says that patients are living longer and better lives. From all my research combined, I definitely think that microscopes have positively impacted our daily lives.